Hello, today we're going to be comparing some of the IFVs and transports and regiments, including my personal favorite, the Bradley. Without any further delay, let's dive right in. Alright, so the first comparison we're going to be doing is the BMP-3 versus the M2A2 Bradley. I think these are the top two IFVs on each side. To start with, the Bradley has slightly better armor, but where it really stands out are the side armor. It could take a little more to the side. That's mainly going to affect taking fire from other IFVs. Any tank is going to penetrate either of these easily. It has a little more durability, but better vision, so you'll be able to see enemies from further out. And that thermal night vision, just like almost all NATO units have better night vision. Now the main weapons get interesting. The Bradley has a 25mm autocannon, the BMP has a 30mm autocannon. Same range, same accuracy. BMP fires a little better on the move, and has a better rate of fire. So that main gun is actually better all around. There's a really big difference on the rate of fire, and I tried to put together a quick calculation for how much damage each one would do to each other. And the BMP does about 4 more points of damage. I have no idea how this translates to in-game damage points. Just trying to work together the damage, accuracy percentage, and rate of fire. The BMP actually does a little more damage, even though the Bradley gets more penetration. The BMP just fires faster. And unlike the many of the other vehicles in the game, the Bradley has the TOW2 and actually has a superior ATGM to the Warsaw Pact unit here. It can't fire on the move, definitely fires much slower, but 90% accuracy is really good, 15 damage and 22 penetration, so that can actually stand up to a lot of main battle tanks and give them a run for their money. Now the one key thing that gives the BMP an edge that's not shown on this spreadsheet just because of how I set it up, BMP also has a 100mm HE cannon, and that's going to be great for infantry. Does a lot of HE damage. I'm still trying to figure out exactly how the HE damage translates to damage against infantry, but that 100mm cannon really helps it tear through the infantry that are in enemy mechanized platoons and let it get at the enemy IFVs faster. Now the second matchup is the BMP-2 versus the Marder 1A2. This is going to be the best IFV for the West German army, and the BMP-2 is going to be more common with the Soviets, and I think also with some other Warsaw Pact armies. Marder has much better armor across the board, and again, better vision, better night vision, so the Marder is going to be able to see enemies further out. With the main weapons, the Marder has a 20mm autocannon, and the BMP-2 has a 30mm autocannon. Pretty similar to the matchup we just looked at between the BMP-3 and the Bradley. The Marder is going to have better rate of fire, so they'll be able to put more rounds downrange and take more rounds with that higher armor values. With the BMP-2 only having 5 penetration, some of those front shots are going to bounce from longer ranges. We're going to see fewer critical hits coming in on the Marder. When we look at the ATGMs, the Marder does have an ATGM in the Milan 2. This is the only ATGM in the game I've seen with a 2000 maximum range. I'm assuming it's not an error because it's the only one that's different, but that's going to require the Marder to get closer before it can engage anyone with the ATGM. Has really good accuracy, still 85, lower than some of the top tier ATGMs, but still good. Higher rate of fire than the TOW2, and then equivalent damage between that and the BMP-2. When we look at the damage outputs between the vehicles, they're expected to be pretty close with 23, 22, so the rate of fire and accuracy kind of balance out. Only one difference in the penetration versus armor for these two. For the next comparison, we're going to look at two of the most common IFVs on the Warsaw Pact side. We have the BMP-1P, which is the same as the BMP-1, but does have a concourse ATGM, and the BTR-70, which is a wheeled vehicle, light and fast. So the BMP has better armor across the board. Their vision and night vision are the same. And then for main armament, the BMP-1P has a 73mm gun, while the BTR only has a 14.5mm machine gun. That 73mm has a slightly better range, better accuracy, but then the rate of fire is not really comparable. We're looking at a cannon versus a machine gun here. And the BMP-1 has that ATGM, similar to a lot of other pretty good Warsaw Pact ATGMs, 2800 range, 80 accuracy, and pretty solid damage, while the BTR is going to be completely reliant on other units to cover it from tanks. When we look at how they would fare versus each other, firing at each other. You'd see this mainly in the distance operation where you have Warsaw Pact actually fighting each other. The BTR-70 is actually capable of doing some damage to the BMP-1P just because of the volume of rate of fire and that -1 penetration difference. Even though it only has 2 rate of fire, the BMP-1P still has 3 front armor, so you're going to get some penetration there. Main thing to take away from this is that the BTR-70 is really light. You're not going to want to get it engaged with other heavy mechanized units. You're mainly going to just rely on that machine gun for fire support, and it's going to be a taxi to get your infantry around and rely on them for firepower. And the last comparison I wanted to do here is something you'd fairly commonly see in the campaigns. Would be a BMP-2 versus a Leopard 1A4. Leopard 1A4 is going to be one of the weakest and oldest tanks that the West German Army is going to field in the game, but still completely outclasses the BMP-2 on everything. Armor is way better. The gun, a 105mm tank gun, is going to not really be a comparison against that 30mm autocannon. Better accuracy, more stabilized, doesn't fire as fast, but when you look at the damage and penetration stats, and how that would be modified once we figure in the armor, damage, accuracy, we'd be looking at about 40 damage on this chart versus basically none from the BMP to the Leopard. There's going to be some damage, some suppression damage, and maybe some HP damage if the BMP continues firing at the Leopard, but I don't have the formulas to really calculate that. The only way the BMP can survive versus the Leopard is to stay outside of the Leopard's range, but still inside of the ATGM range. So if we back that up to maybe 2,600 meters, the Leopard can't fire. Neither of them can see each other, but if there is a spotter on that Leopard, the BMP is in ATGM range and can try to do damage to the Leopard using that. And that it can penetrate the armor pretty easily. With 19 penetration, the Leopard only has 12 front armor, so it'll be able to get through and do damage to the Leopard that way. And that's really your only hope if you're in an IFV trying to take on tanks. Thanks for watching. If you've made it this far, let me know in the comments what some of your favorite vehicles in the game are. I hope to be back soon with more regiments, and I hope you're enjoying this game as much as I am.